to another episode, series, show, podcast of Positively Positive. And this means everything, all things, anybody. We are a storytelling show. We love stories. But the one thing about our show is the thing that is the glue. Every story will have some component of HIV embedded in it. You might be a newly diagnosed person with HIV or a very long-term survivor, which we have. You might be a caregiver, lost someone as I did, with an organization, a healthcare agency, an activist, and that is another common thread. Every one of the people we interview in their bios, in their walk, have community activism. Because when you especially get involved with something like HIV and it hits you in a way that you know you want to help people, that's what it's about. So when you tell me you have a great story, I will tell you to call the number on the screen or go to Campbell Health Solutions and we will send you a link so you can be on Positively Positive with, I didn't even introduce myself, Susan Mintz, Susan Lee Mintz. You go to Campbell Health Solutions. I'm Susan Lee Mintz, the hostess of the show Positively Positive, all things HIV, and all things will be about love and caring and compassion and removing the stigma. That's what this show is doing. It's breaking down barriers in a way that has never, ever been done before. And just a brief about me. My late husband, whom I adored, my best friend of 37 years, who I met when I was 11 years old. We got married in 1969. He was bisexual, which I didn't find out until later, very promiscuous in the 80s, and he contracted HIV/AIDS related pneumonia in 1992, diagnosed, and was gravely ill and put in the hospital. He would not get tested. So as I documented his illness for 2 years while he was battling this in my book, Committed to Love, I always suggest write your book, document, diary, do whatever you have to do. But I had sat there and watched everybody taking care of this man I adored for 25 years. And I had nothing but a piece of paper and a pen near the phone. And everybody was all draped up and wrapped up, and it was a horror show. And I could start writing today, June 20th, 1992. Everyone's taking care of my husband but me. I wrote over 2 years in my book, but it wasn't a book. It was 15 journals. I journaled because God told me to write. I journaled for 2.5 years, his illness. Years later, I transposed it. It took 2 years of my life and sat in my room and didn't talk to anybody. I went out only for the pharmacy or to something important. And I came up with this book, 24 chapters, Committed to Love. Might be hard to see with the overhead light, but Committed to Love. You can go on my website, Susan Mintz, MINTZ, SUSANMINTZ.com. Go to the books page. I also got involved with hospice afterwards for 6 years, and I wrote 24 stories about people who I met during my hospice volunteer work. It's called And I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart. Each book is 24 stories of hope and love and compassion. And I tell stories. I've told you my story in Committed to Love, a woman's journey through love and loss. And then I told 24 other stories of people in hospice care. And they are positive. So write your stories out, journal, document, but do something tonight even to say, this guest, this remarkable guest we're going to have on tonight, a remarkable guest, had something in his spirit that I want to talk about. Or there's this crazy lady in orange and gloves and god awful jewelry who started talking. I don't care, but pick up a pen and a pad and write. Do yourself a favor. Now, if you remember Bob Barker with The Price is Right, he used to say, come on down. Well, I'm going to say, Christopher Barnhill, come on in to the studio. Welcome. man down.
Excellent production.
You are way too young to have done what you've been doing. Either that or you have had good work on your face. You are way too young. Way too young.
Thank you
You have
so much.
Oh, this is an honor. I just got your bio and I started reading through it. And my head went, and I was like, whoa, this guy's done so much. You are going to be one of the greatest guests I've ever going to do because you'll flow. I want you to start at the beginning, always at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
All our guests are incredible. I mean, that's what's so great about this show. Every guest brings something to Positively Positive that is uniquely theirs. Tell me where you were born and where you live now.
Well, I was born in Washington, D.C. Shout out to the D.C. folks. I'm a D.C. boy all day. But I currently live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where is I call home. DC is always going to be the birthplace of home, but Florida is definitely where I feel right at home. So.
And why? Why do you? That's where we'll have a pause. So when you stop, I can ask you, why do you call South Florida your home?
Honestly, I feel like any time that you leave your birthplace and move somewhere else and you survive and you like make it through all the trials and tribulations of the first year, the second year, and I'm now going on my 8th year, I feel like I've grown so much inwardly as a person, spiritually, learning how to navigate situations because I'm from DC, that's like 800 some odd miles away. So
right.
All of the stuff I'm going to go through maybe some of it alone, but then you rely on people that you build good relationships with that can help you carry some of that burden too, so you don't have to pack up and leave. And so far, Florida has not given me any reason to really, even though we have our political stuff going on down here, it hasn't given me anything personally to feel like I need to go back home and move somewhere else. Actually, except for this heat, because each year gets a little too hot. Yeah, so I think we're frozen. But hello. If you're talking to me, I don't hear what you're saying, but I will continue to talk. It's a pleasure to be on this show. I thank you all for inviting me, and I hope that whatever I may share with you all, hope that it inspires you. I hope that it allows you all to feel uplifted, and yeah, that's what I have for right now until our host comes back. So I definitely want to talk about my family. So my family, I'm the youngest child. I wasn't supposed to even be here past the day I was born. Actually, my name wasn't even supposed to be Christopher. It was supposed to be Derek, but I was a premature kid. Born to heroin addicted mother. And I'm not afraid to talk about that because that's part of my story too. But heroin addicted mother, I was premature. And our host is coming back. Hello, welcome back.
I says this is like this all day, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just
the rain. It's raining like crazy down here.
Yes. Oh, that's right. You're in Florida too. So we're just going to wing it tonight. So anyway, what I wanted to say was, South Florida is your home because you've lived here a long time, but you feel like you've made the strongest relationships here.
The strongest relationships, but I also feel like that I have like grown exponentially just being down here. I mean, I couldn't tell you what my hobbies were when I was living in DC because my hobbies was based around the work that I've done. But like moving down here, I got outdoors a lot. I worked out a lot. I was riding bicycles. I was doing 5K marathons, things I wasn't even doing back home because life for me back home was all about community, and making it, I guess not necessarily making a name for myself, but when you're in your 20s, you're trying to establish yourself. And so that was what my 20s was really about, just working on those things. And then when I moved down here, kind of like my last year, actually I moved down here when I was getting ready to turn 30, 36 now. So yeah, I guess 6 or 7 years I've been down here.
And how we're gonna have to use my phone because my iPad is not letting me work on the. It says I'm not connected to the internet, which is the devil is a
Okay.
liar. They're not going to stop us tonight. We will work around everything. I tell people right now, you work around everything. Professionals, the show must go on. So tell me about your involvement with HIV. What happened? How'd this happen? How'd you get involved?
Okay. So like HIV work was never in my radar. And honestly, I think the work really chose me because my whole trajectory was going to be somewhere in entertainment. I was going to be an actor. I wanted to write songs.
How did you get involved?
I'm still here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so like I got involved when I got tested for HIV back when I was like 16. And as I said, I don't know if you heard me when I said this, but this work was never in my radar. Like social work, any of this type of work was never part of who I was. I wanted to be an entertainer, acting. That was my thing. Writing songs was my thing. That was, you can tell me nothing. You can tell me that was not going to be my trajectory. However, when I was 16, I went to a health fair at the Howard University and I tested positive for HIV. And it wasn't until maybe 2 years later I had learned that I was actually born with HIV. And so even prior to then, what I wanted to do was, I said, so when I knew that I was HIV positive, I knew that this working with HIV in youth was the work that I was going to do for the rest of my life at some capacity.
Right. Christopher, you were born. What did you say? You were born with it? Tell me. I back up a little bit.
Okay, so I was born with HIV. I didn't know about that until like I was 18.
And you contracted it from your mom, obviously. You think?
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 87. It wasn't really.
And you didn't know till you were 18. How did you find out?
So I tested for HIV at a health fair, and it came back positive when I was 16. Now I was sexually active around that age, but I didn't then learn that I was HIV positive. That I was born with it until I was 18.
How did you feel? I mean, how did you react then?
I mean, I don't recognize the feelings I've had then. Definitely, probably like a lot of confusion. I just immediately just delved into the work. It only made my cause much stronger because I wanted to like do good work. So I wanted to work with HIV and young people. So it only made the story, I guess, much more cemented into the reason why I chose the work that I chose. Because like for the first 2 years of me knowing about my HIV status, I knew I wanted to do the work, but then it was like, okay, now let's kick it up a notch, right? Because now I need to do more activism, talk to more young people about the importance of getting tested for HIV. Because just like me, you could have been born with HIV and not even know that. But the thing about it is, as much as I would like to think my story is unique, I've met many young men, many young women, and some of them who have transitioned on, may they rest in peace, that have found out the same exact way at a health fair, or they was taking medications that they didn't know why they were taking the medications, and then at 16 or 17, that's when they discovered they were born with HIV.
Wow. So you found out, see, it just came back on. So people just. So anyway, oh, hello again. So you found out you were born with.
You're getting an echo, so I think you might have to cut off of your computer.
What?
There was an echo, so there we go.
It's just been a bad connection all day. We've been in and out, and you just work around it. I mean, as I tell people, you can't help what happens. People get dropped on big TV shows. They're always frozen. I mean, just the way it is, but it's been all day in and out. But I've got you, and as long as we just keep, it doesn't matter if it takes 2 hours to get through this show. We're doing it. So
it's just the rain. Okay.
And you found out, though, you were 8. You found out you were born.
Well, it does matter if it takes 2 hours. We might have to do a part 2.
So after you
All right.
found out
What
you
was
were
your question?
born
I'm
with it,
sorry.
you got involved with the community. You got involved then
No,
with your
actually,
community.
the moment that I discovered that I was HIV, like at 16, I hit the ground running. I coordinated World AIDS Day at my high school for the very first time.
Yeah.
It was not done in the 4 years that
Did
I
you?
was doing it. I about HIV. I got on the morning announcement, and then my teacher, Miss, I won't put her name out there, but my teacher, my music teacher, was like, it would be great because she helped us coordinate it. She said it would be great if there was someone who's HIV positive that can go on and talk about their life experiences. At this time, no one knew that I was positive. So on the morning announcements on the last day, I revealed to my entire school that I was HIV positive, and ended up almost getting suspended for it because it was not pre-approved. But my teachers and the school know me. I listen. I When it comes to injustice, I'm a fight. So of course, I mean, I definitely let my principal know that, hey, if this is the route you want to go, please know I will come with lawyers.
Right. So
Because
you
you can't
felt
suspend
that
me for
call.
this.
You felt that call because you knew you
Yeah.
had a voice that could make a difference. Did you feel any stigma being so young and your peer group? What
Oh,
happened after?
it was not even my peer group. It was adults.
All right.
It was the
What happened?
adults that was the most stigmatizing. It was the adults that were more discriminatory. Like, I mean, there was a lot going. Like I got kudos from my peers. Even still to this day, they still talk about it. I get kudos from my peers about it. There was like some. It was weird. I was popular in school, but I was also bullied in the school at the same time for being gay. And then now I want to add on top of that, I had wore glasses. I was nerdy in so many ways. And
You were
so
smart.
so I got of course I always like to let people know that I'm intelligent, especially at that time. But
No, but when you wear
especially to the
glasses,
bullies.
you always when you put glasses on, you always look smart, even if you're not. Glasses make a man look very smart. I always like a man who had great.
So I took them
So
off for
we,
today right now.
but
But
anyway, so in other words, though,
so
you
my
in high school, this all happened,
in high school, I
right?
was in I believe my senior year of high school. My senior year of high school, they definitely, it was my senior year, and I had teachers that said, like, had little nasty comments, but the one person who has always have consistently been in my corner, my guidance counselor. My guidance
Right.
counselor, um, I want to say her name, but I also want to respect, people's
Was he more even? Was that guidance counselor more of a mentor?
anonymity. She was my saving grace. Any problem I had, like either personally or with family or just with school wise, I knew that anytime I can come into her office and really speak to her and really share my heart. And she really got me through like my high school experience, because it wasn't just that one year. It was like all 4 years. I felt like she has made a
Yeah.
difference in the person
Now,
that
would you?
she really helped me navigate high school, and I don't think I would have gotten through high school without her. Counselors, shout out to guidance
So,
counselors.
in other words, that's I would always say. Also, I think guidance counselors play a very, very effective role, especially in high school. Those transition years, that they could
Yeah.
be the person they're meant. You're their they could be your mentor and guide you on the right path is what they should be doing because they really play a very
Mm-hmm.
integral role in the youth. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
14 to 18, those are incredibly difficult years. So that's wonderful.
Oh my
She's
God.
probably a
Yes.
mentor to you. So
I mean,
after high
we're
school,
still.
then
I'm thankful. At high school,
where did you go to college? Where did you go to college?
well, I didn't finish school. I've never really, and I had to really sit with myself and really be honest with myself. I've never really been the type who's really been interested in school. Like, I like learning about things I'm interested in learning, but I
Mhm.
don't like learning about the math, the sciences, all that stuff. So school just has always been. I
Thank
always
you.
excelled in the subjects that I was interested in, but like all the other stuff, no.
Thank I thought I was the only one who did not like school. No, I was a CB student. I wanted to be on the streets with their people,
And I know, and
talking and learning.
and I know, and
So,
I know, as an adult, like you don't really get enough. You said what?
so but it says here though, when you did this, I'm looking. It says you got involved really with the prevention end of HIV in DC. It says here you're award-winning
Yeah, I
public
got really
speaker.
involved.
Tell me how that helped. That you got really as a
Hmm.
public spokesperson for nonprofits in DC and South Florida. How did you get so entrenched with organizations?
I like moments like this. I would do an interview, like someone say, "Hey, can you tell your story?" Blah blah blah, and I'll do an interview. Now, when I'm always 100% myself in every room that I go. So how you see me right now is how you will see me at work, how you see me with my friends. Oh, only time I'm different is when I'm sleeping, because when it's time for me to sleep, I'm a little nasty. Richardo can vouch for that. But like but like it just steamrolls. Like I would do a speaking gig somewhere, and someone else will hear about me or may have seen it, and they want me to do it there. And I never sought out to be this really big public speaker. I just enjoyed being able to sit in front of people and talk about the experiences that I've had with living with HIV, and hoping that I would reach someone that was my age or a peer, and they would feel connected by that. And it just built into this bigger thing. When I got my first job at Metro Teenage, being an HIV care advocate, helping other young people between the ages of 13 and 24 living with HIV to get connected to care. I had no degree. I had no really any real experience. What I had was passion and personal experience. And
Mm-hmm.
when I interviewed for that position, I had food poisoning. It was my 21st birthday. I had food poisoning. And I knew that I had to get to this interview because that was my only opportunity to show them what I got. And they was like, why didn't you just reschedule? I was like, no, I needed to be at this interview today. And I got the job, hopefully, probably by sympathy, but but I got the job. They gave me that job, and in that job, I stayed there for 5 years. And I went from being a care advocate to a program manager.
So
So, like,
have you
so you get me in your jobs, you get me in your organizations, I stay.
Yeah, you don't need to have a
So what?
degree necessarily. When you do community work like you're doing, or you're an advocate, or you have passion and you take
Mm-hmm.
on a cause like HIV, you don't have to have the college degrees. You don't have to have the high school degrees. The passion comes from your heart. The speaking is a gift from
Mm-hmm.
God. The writing is a gift from God, and the opportunities are a gift from God. The question is, do you want to walk through those doors and take the chance? Just like tonight, Christopher, we're having glitches all over the place. Do I care? No. Are we going to have an incredible show? We're having an incredible show. I don't
Thank you.
care. As long as the job gets done, I don't care who does it. That's just the way it
Mm-hmm.
is. But I know with you, you had opportunities presented, but you went for those opportunities. You didn't say, can I do it? Can I talk about this? Can I go on this national forum? Can I do it? You went out and you did it.
I've been throughout my career, and even now, I feel like I've always been in the right space at the right time under the right
Right.
people, and never and the thing about it, organically, because I don't get into spaces like, oh, who is who. I never been like starstruck unless it's Brandy, but like, or Beyonce. Then I'm starstruck. I fainted at her concert, by the way. But like I've always, my grandmother is like my hero, and I'm about to cry because my grandmother's alive, by the way. But when I talk about my grandmother, she just she just means like the world to me. Because had it
Yeah.
not been for her, who have paved the
Uh-huh.
way for me, I would not even be in the work, because she started it all. She did social work. She's a noted civil rights leader in D.C. Friends with President Lyndon B. Johnson. Got awarded from him. Got in an argument with J. Edgar Hoover. Knew Martin Luther King. Knew all the big wigs. And
But
so it's like, without her, I would not have known anything about community work.
So
Shout
shout
out to
out to,
Brandy, absolutely.
yes, we just saw that. Shout out to Brandy.
Brandy Ray Anna Norwood is my queen, so
Well, hopefully you'll send her this when you air, you'll send it out to her and she'll do. But the other thing is that we'll have a story on Monday night. Same thing. The grandmother was the foundation for this girl's life, basically.
mhm.
And I've found, being around so many people of color, that in the African American community, the grandmothers play a very, very important role.
Oh, absolutely. Grandmother,
Yeah,
it's like for me, grandma is the information hub of
right,
a lot of things. And I don't think we really take the opportunity to really sit under grandma and learn the information about your history, about your life,
right.
some gossip too, because you know there's gonna be some gossip there too. Who she did like, who she didn't like, all that. But I really just took the opportunity, like, to just ask my grandmother questions, and I don't always. I believe in things happen organically. We could be sitting with each other because I visited my grandmother before she got sick, like just because, like I just be like, let me see what you're doing today, and I just ask her like little things. Oh, so what was your life like? Like who raised you, or did you like the work that you did? Like things that you get to know about her. Because honestly, I don't even think we even know our families intimately in the way that we should know our families.
Until sometime they're gone. Many times we don't appreciate them.
We could tell you everything about our friends if our mother was happy with the life that she lived. So,
Yeah. Many
what do you
many
say?
times many times we don't appreciate our family until they're gone, and then we learn why we are the way we are. We
Mhm.
inherit the good, we inherit the bad, and we
Yeah.
can't pick and choose. Maybe I was
Oh, of
more like
course.
my father and didn't get along with him, or maybe I was close with my mother because I was living the life she wanted. The other thing is, it came up here
Mhm.
though that you were picked by Obama. Tell me about how you got involved with Obama. I think he was a wonderful president. I think he was the greatest. So tell me about, and who's
Um,
Ash? Who's Ash to our ancestor? There's on the screen. Did you see that?
Ashe to our ancestors. Yes, Ashe to our ancestors, meaning like like you just kind of paying respect to our ancestors. Yeah. So,
All right.
like how I got honestly, I don't know how I got picked for the Obama thing. All I know is I'd be in spaces, people hear me may have heard me speak somewhere, and then I get name dropped, and then an opportunity comes up. But you know what I really wish I understood at the time, the magnitude of what I was doing at that time. I was 23
Yeah.
years old, handpicked to sit at the White House to give my input on what I think people with living with HIV and young people, like what some things should be included into the national AIDS strategy. The only national AIDS strategy, historic Obama administration, first black president, and I'm sitting here like, okay, let's just do this work. But it didn't hit me till
Did
like after my 30s, like Christopher, you were cemented in
did you
history. Like, do you know what the hell you just
before
did?
again? Did you pinch yourself to see? I can't believe I'm really here. Did you pinch yourself?
No, I was just like, this young person wanted to do the work, so it was work for me. But I didn't sit down in that moment and really think about like the magnitude and the important work that I was doing. Now I never got the opportunity to meet Obama. Here come my roommate, but I never got the opportunity to meet Obama. But I
Oh,
know when that email came from and it said Obama administration.
oh, but you didn't
Yeah, I wish I
you didn't
kept that email.
but you didn't.
No, no,
I
it
got.
was. I didn't.
Let me tell you,
I didn't
I
get
got to
personally.
meet him. You didn't meet them personally.
I didn't meet Obama, but I did hear like his voice on the television, and I got like, oh my god, he's in the area. He was not even in the area. That was just a TV. So I was a little upset about that. But like, no, I mean, during Obama years, Obama invited a lot of like movers and shakers, young people to the White House to do policy work all the time. This wasn't the first time I sat at the Obama administration did some work. Like we got, he really called on a lot of like young leaders to help him with policy, and that's what I really respect and admire about him.
Yeah.
him at that time. Because I think I
Uh,
was
uh,
asked to do stuff at the White House like at least two other different times.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah, so
How old are you now?
36,
How old?
36 years old, 36.
You're only 36?
Yeah,
That
I've been doing
that's
this work literally for 20 years, literally for 20 years,
yes. That's
since
why when I
16.
read your
Yeah.
bio, I thought you have to be in your 50s or 60s because there's so much here with all the nonprofits and the Obama administration
Yeah.
and the national aid strategies and the BETs and all. Tell me, just keep talking about yourself.
I honestly, contrary to popular belief, and this is no cap, like I don't like talking about myself like that. You can ask me, I'll be like, I don't know.
Oh, but I do. No, but you do. I want to hear about
I do
your
like
organization.
I
You
like
have so
talking
much
about
good
the
contribute.
work, my experiences with the
Yes, the
work, but
work, not
personally,
yourself, not yourself, the work you've done. That's
oh, okay, yeah.
talk about the
Oh,
organizations,
okay, okay, yeah, I can talk
the
about
different
that.
venues. Yeah, I don't want to. I want to make you.
Um, some of those venues are such a blur. Like I said, when I was doing those works, when I was doing the work, I was literally just like focused on the work, and it didn't really hit till later the magnitude of the work that I was doing because I was so present. And that's something I struggle with, not being present in situations. So I could talk about that. Like I am often in a space where I'm experiencing but not really understanding the experience until it like I just have this epiphany like later on in life and be like, oh, I really did do that. Like, oh my god. But like I'm not even someone who personally thinks who can. I don't really don't think I speak well. I stutter. I stammer. I I can't always pronounce words correctly. But what one thing I can say about myself is that one thing which you would hear when I'm using my words is that it's going to be passion. It's going to be authenticity. And I think that's really what has helped me get into spaces that people with degrees or people who are supposed to have degrees. Um, I really think
Yeah.
that really has helped me a lot, and I respect that. And maybe sometimes God just has a bigger dream for you than I have for myself, and maybe that's the
Hmm.
reason why I was able to get the opportunities that was only uniquely meant for me. So,
And tell me about what was the national AIDS strategy? What was that?
oh, so national aid strategy was what I did with the Obama administration. But we
Yeah.
we all had like cohorts and groups. So mine was focusing specifically on HIV and youth, and I wasn't the only one. It was like a lot of us. We sat in the Eisenhower building. I think that's what it was, the old executive building, and we sat there for a couple of hours. We talked about what we were going to do. We gave our ideas, and then we had like individual focus groups. So we went because it wasn't just a one time thing. We were working on it for like months. And then we submitted our idea collectively. And then when it was time to press play and make it public, that's when I realized, oh shit, like excuse my language, oh shoot, like this is for the national aid strategy. At the time, I don't think I
Yeah.
knew that's what I was doing. I thought I was, you know, lending my expertise. But
And,
I've made some lifelong friendships in those spaces with other people
yeah.
across the United States who were doing the same exact work at the same age. So yeah.
Do you travel around the country speaking to youth or everybody, or what would you say? What would be your strong suit if you were speaking? Who would be the target group many times you speak to?
It My strong suit honestly is like conversations like this,
Mm.
talking in front of audiences. Even though I'm always like right now, I'm like shaking my leg because of nervousness. But like, I really think that really connecting with people has always been like a gift that I had. I really lead with empathy and love, but I also don't play with people either. So I might lead with empathy and love, but I'm not gonna play with you. but I have spoken across the country. I remember that I was asked to be a keynote speaker at a conference. I spoke at universities. I've done stuff with the Discovery Channel. I've done a lot of things in a short period of time.
That's why
But
we're
I
so good.
experienced burnout very like with by my 10 years of doing it, I experienced burnout. And I really
Yeah,
want to talk about that because it's important that we have to as people who do this human service work, we have to learn to put the mask on ourselves first so we can
mm,
breathe before we can help anybody else. And I was drowning, saying yes to people, saying yes to opportunities when I really should have said no. Because there was a moment in time where I wasn't personally well. I was, having some moments where I was just engaging in behaviors that was just not who I was designed to be, or at least who I thought was designed to be. I was not prioritizing my mental health. I was, just doing things that inwardly I knew was a no, but I would just say yes because I wanted to do the work. So what I'm saying to people too, as change makers, as advocates, as people in the field, as pastors, as ministers, everyone who has the ability to work with people and touch people, is important that you take care of your mental health and your physical health first.
yeah.
And if you can help
Mhm.
someone else, please do so.
The one
Yeah.
thing that I know from everybody we've interviewed so far is the fact that we are harder on ourselves. And I think that's something I have learned in my 77 years on this planet. And yes, I look
Hmm.
extremely good for my age. Thank you very much. But I
Absolutely.
know,
Thank you. I mean, I said
and
thank you. I
I love
mean,
color and I love color. But I've learned over the years that we are much harder on ourselves many times than other people are. We are judged, we think we're judged, but we're judging ourselves harder. So, yes, prioritize your mental health because I've always said
hmm,
also, you're no good to anybody else in any capacity if you're not taking care of yourself. And
absolutely,
mental health
absolutely.
is a guidebook for so much. I never once,
Hmm.
like just going back when Jeffrey was ill, my husband, I never had one sick day. I was so focused on him for those 2+ years that I never had any
Hmm.
time for me, but I was okay because I was writing. That's why I encourage writing so much. And I teach writing or proofread or edit or do whatever anybody wants because the writing cleared out my head and kept me mentally sane. If not, I would have gone crazy because everything around me was nuts. So, do you feel though that you many times put the pressure on yourself, or when you're speaking to your peer group, let's say, that they stigmatize and put pressure and don't effectively take care of themselves first? And that takes a process going through it.
Yes, actually, in earlier I said I'm someone who doesn't speak well, right? I'm already creating the narrative that I don't speak well, even though I'm hearing myself and I know that I'm speaking fine. It's crazy, right? I have to
You're
like I have to
wonderful.
like I have to like downplay myself in order for me to feel, I guess, like humbled. And I think sometimes we try to humble ourselves so we don't get too big than what we that than we what we are. Because honestly, I'm a big person. I'm a big light. I'm a light. I'm a light,
But
and I have to honor that. But sometimes, as people,
yeah,
we've trained ourselves to not honor the light that is in us.
no,
We only want to acknowledge the darkness. And I think that
I knew
I think for myself, I need to have to change that around.
I knew Ricciardo. Ricciardo knew that we were going to be a great. I mean, look who you're dealing with. Toning myself down. That is not in my vocabulary, darling. I can promise you that right now. It wouldn't matter where I go. Toning myself down would be like I don't go under rocks. I make rocks and push rocks. I'm not going under a rock. Never have, never
Well, you
will.
are
The other thing,
fabulous.
yeah, I'm not a queen, but I dress like one. Don't dim your light for anyone. That's wonderful. That's
Absolutely.
from our whatever. Don't
Not
dim your
anyone, but
light.
just don't dim light for yourself. Don't dim light
Don't
for
you do it.
yourself.
Tell me
Yeah.
about the BETs. What's that 106? Tell me about what the BETs and you were on ABC Nightline. Now I remember it was such a great show. The ABC Nightline.
Mm.
He was great. What was his name again? The one who was the host of that for years.
This gentleman was a much younger gentleman who I did the interview for, so I don't think he was the original
Remember who the
person.
original?
Yeah, I had some and I'm just telling my truth, right? I think that it's important that when I had a not so good experience with Nightline, and I'm not talking about that because I think that when you interview people of color, you have to be very, very cognizant of the words that you use. Not saying you, but I said that I wanted to. There was a line where they said I wanted to escape the ghetto, and I never said that I lived in the ghetto. I never said that. So there was times where I felt like they exploited they used my story for, which was for HIV, but they included their own narrative that I never even included. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about that experience a lot because
Mm-hmm.
it's one that really burns me because I
Yeah.
never said I lived in the ghetto, never said I was trying to escape anything. So they had to use a lot of words in the narrative, and I hope this doesn't get your show in trouble, but I can only speak from my truth. Hmm.
Yeah. They can interpret. The media can interpret anything they want the way
Yeah,
they hear what they want to hear and what their audience wants to hear, but they don't
yeah, yeah.
always. Yeah, they use buzzwords to rack up viewership. They're so
Well, I wish I still had that email to let him know. I was like, sir, and I think they changed it in the transcript, like the written transcript, but you've already recorded and aired it for millions of people. And now you told these people that I was trying to escape a ghetto and I didn't live in the ghetto. I lived in Waldorf,
mhm.
Maryland at the time. And
That's
that's
so
not a
demeaning.
ghetto.
And that's
Yeah.
so demeaning. It's so demeaning when you know those were not your words. That's not who you are. Those words would never
Hmm.
have come out of your mouth ever because you know the way you speak.
Never even
There,
grew up in a ghetto, so for them to
your
even
voice
use that
brings.
word, and there's nothing,
Your
yeah,
voice
and there's
brings.
nothing wrong with people who have, and I don't want to set this tone that there's something wrong. If I was growing up and if I lived in the ghetto, grew up in the ghetto, I would honor that because I think there's a lot of heart, a lot of struggle, but also a lot of passion and strength in people who have those experiences, especially if they can live through it and talk about it and navigate through that. But that wasn't my narrative, and I feel like they had used. I think they used because I'm a black person, and they had used the buzzwords that would get them the viewership, and said this is his narrative, and that was like something that I just. And what hurt most that it came from a black person, so it was like, come on, bruh.
Yeah, right.
Like, come on,
You're
bruh.
eating.
I didn't say those words. You know, I didn't say those words. There was
You're
nothing even
eating
in the
your.
video.
Yeah, it's the expression. You're eating your own. That type of thing instead of
Yeah, yeah. Like,
the
mhm.
self
So
kind
I
of the
mean,
kind.
that's that experience.
The other thing is when you speak to, do you advocate testing? Are you a big advocate for testing, and do you test yourself all the time, or how are you on medication? Tell me about that part of
Oh
your
yeah,
life.
I am on medication. I'm on medication. Been on medication for as long as I've known I was HIV. I'm an advocate for testing. I still do HIV testing. I do HIV testing part time. I'm 100%. I'm not 100%, but I'm full time working in housing, affordable housing, and I'm working with homeless individuals who suffer, who struggle, who have a mental health diagnosis that like a chronic and persistent mental health diagnosis. So I'm helping. I'm in the housing field now, but
Mm-hmm.
prior to working with the homeless completely, I was working with HIV in housing as well. So I spent 2 years working in HIV housing. So now I have kind of transitioned more into the housing as of my nine to five, but I'm still in the field of work. I just think for myself, I've been doing it so long that my
Yeah.
resume says one thing, and I don't want to be pigeonholed into one particular area. So it was important for me to really kind of branch out and try other things and see where my skills may lie. And I really, really enjoy working in affordable housing and working with the homeless. And some of those people may or may not have HIV, and I can still drop those nuggets of getting tested for HIV and HIV treatment and all that stuff into the work that I do. So HIV doesn't just touch the lives of just one section of people; it can touch many,
No.
many people, no matter
But
where you are in terms of it.
but that is a big issue of people who unfortunately are living on the streets. Many times it is
Mhm.
drug abuse. Many times it's the mental health issues. Many times it's IV use. It's a horrible, uh, in a country so rich, to have it. It just that boggles my head, and I
But
never
is
understood.
but it's not that. And I would like to really say those are definitely issues. But the biggest thing is just affordable housing. Like even
Right.
today, and I have 2 jobs. I cannot afford the rent. I can't afford the rent on my own. My first apartment in 2007 was $625 for 1 bedroom. I don't think maybe about 600 square feet. Today, a 1 bedroom in my area can cost anywhere from $1,400 to on up. But I work for a nonprofit, and I'm proud of working for a nonprofit and working for people and doing community service work. However, because it's a community-based work and it's grant funded, that sometimes the salaries aren't there. And I think we as people who work in the field need to advocate more. That yes, I understand you want to include this dollar amount to go towards this project or program, but don't forget about the people who have to put the project and program on.
Right.
We still have lives too. And some of us are also clients of the same work that we do. Strategic and that'd be very strategic. And when I go home, I last time I've been home was 2 years ago for Thanksgiving. I didn't plan. See, also I have to also take some accountability. I procrastinate a lot, so when it's time to buy plane tickets at an affordable, it's already October when I decide that I want to buy it. So if
See,
so
I
I
would
should
never
probably
think.
start a little earlier. Start a
I
little
would
earlier when
never
it comes.
think you were. I would
What?
never think you were a procrastinator with that personality and the passion and
Oh,
everything and the way you are. I would never think you were a procrastinator. That would be one of the last things
I am
on
a
that thing.
procrastinator. I will say that I'm a little bit lazy and I'm a procrastinator, but also I overthink and overanalyze a lot. So sometimes when it's time to make a decision, I have he said no cap. Sometimes when it's time to make a decision to make the time to make the decision has already surpassed me, and I'm still chewing on the idea of what I want to do. But it also has served me because I don't jump into things quickly before really analyzing all of the pros and cons of the situation. I like to call myself quality assurance. I
But
want to I want to make
that,
sure like before we do this thing, what are the risks? No risk, not risk. What do you call it?
I would say that's
It's
the
called risk
nerdy part of you.
risk management.
The nerd, the, the nerdy part of
Yeah.
you is the one who analyzes and goes deeper and says, why am I thinking this? Overthinking. That's the nerdy, brilliant. That's the smart guy you are. I know you're smart. I could tell you were smart from the minute you smiled. I knew you were smart, and I just felt that spirit coming through. Even with a bad connection, I knew you. I felt energy coming out of you that was incredible. How can people? I always ask also because I take so many notes. How can people contact you or your organizations or get in touch with you personally because you are in South Florida and I know I'll
Okay.
meet you at some event. I will meet you one day. I know
Yes.
that person.
Yes. So
But
let
how
me
can
do one.
people
Let me
get
go log and let me check and see what my handles are because I be forgetting.
it's,
So
and speak slowly for
For Instagram, all my handles are son of Emily, but it's either for Instagram is son dot of dot Emily. Emily is my birth mother. May she rest in peace. For Facebook, it's Christopher Jamal. For we're not even gonna talk about Twitter, but we just gonna just focus on on
no, just
Instagram
keep it.
and
Let me ask you, Christopher, do you have a website or one specific thing? Because you're speaking quickly and I can't write that all down. So do you have one
oh,
specific,
okay. Sorry, I say slowly.
yeah,
So
a web
I mean, I like Instagram. So Facebook is Christopher Jamal. Christopher is
website?
spelled, how you see it on. Yeah,
Oh,
no, with two
it's
A's. So it's Christopher Jamal. So Jamal
Sun.
is Jamaal.
All right, well, that just went on the screen, and Richard will play that again. He'll put that, our producer will put that on regularly and have that on there again. But we always want to make sure that we know where people can contact
Thank you.
somebody. That's really important. So I
Hmm.
know that that'll be posted again. Son dot of Emily or Christopher Jamaal. So anybody who's
Yeah. So
watching the
Sun
show,
Dot of Emily is my Instagram. Yeah,
good,
Sun Dot of Emily is my Instagram, and Christopher Jamal is my Facebook.
good.
For TikTok, because I know I'm just getting into TikTok now. So I gotta figure out what even that even is right now. I don't even know what that. Oh, sorry, I didn't hit something. And am I at the age now where I can't get technology?
Don't talk to me about it. Please do not ask me about technology. Please. I am the last one on the planet. I know what I know and know what I got to do, but this is not, I was brought up with called a typewriter. You wrote with a pen. You
I
had paper.
had one of those too. I had one of those. I
And
actually asked for one for Christmas. Yeah.
and carbon
So
paper.
for
When you had carbon paper, there was none of this
not
stuff.
carbon
I
paper.
grew up in the 50s and 60s. People really talked to each other. We talked to each other like this. Only we didn't have the
Yeah.
internet, but we would talk. So
Personally,
all
I'm
the
not a
things
big texter anymore.
good.
I do my group chats with my friends, which I was a part of that group chat. But like in terms of text messaging, I'm either gonna give you a one word or like a very short sentence. But like these dissertations of text messages and theses and literary reviews of text messages, I don't even have the time to read it, or nor do I want to type it.
Of all the community though, of all you've done in these 36 years, born with HIV, found out you were at 16, 18, became a spokesperson, has spent the last 20 years also dedicating your life to community and been on all these different platforms. If you had to right now though pick one time, one thing, absolutely, other than your grandmother and the guidance counselor. Tell me, I remember everything, even though I write down, I remember the guidance counselor and your grandmother. I got this all down in
Uh-huh.
here. But I mean, if you had to pick a more formal setting, what would you say would be the most, not just fun, but the most interesting and empowering for you?
I and I never shared this with anyone. Before I got into this work, I prayed about this work. Um, I I remember because I was at the time I was really like very religious at the time, and I remember having like almost like a flash of light just came to me, and I saw the work that I wanted to do and the work that I already have done, and I was like, whatever I am going to do, this whatever however you want me to do this work, God, I will do it. And I remember that conversation. I was 16. I had I did at the time when we did HIV testing, it was you had to wait 2 weeks. And them 2 weeks was long, baby. Them two
Yeah,
weeks was long. We had
you're
to wait two
sweating,
weeks before you got the result. And I remember
sweating
I prayed
bullets.
about like
Yeah.
if this work I remember I was like, if this is the work that you would want me to do, then this result will be positive, and I would do the work. And so, and at that time, the dream that I dreamt was very, very this. I just wanted to speak to people about HIV. I had no idea it was going to take me into rooms and opportunities that I've done, and that was only a gamut of the work. I only included that little bit, but it was so much more bigger than what I could have ever dreamt for myself or achieve. And
Hmm.
I'm just really grateful that I had the audacity, the nerve, and the bravery to do it. So that was probably the best experience that I could say. None of the work that none of the things, the opportunities that I've done touches on the fact that I had the bravery to even do it in the first place. The
Hmm.
audacity to do it in the first place, actually.
Yes, the boldness, the call from
Mm,
God on your life to walk through that door and just not stop walking until the door really shuts. That you were called. I always like the word
yeah,
commission. You were commissioned to do your
yeah.
work. And that's a wonderful word
I
to
definitely do
use.
agree with you. Yeah, yeah.
And
Only
that's why
the
I say
like is it is.
you own yourself.
Mhm.
Own yourself. You are commissioned by God to do what you do. May feel strange sometimes. You may not feel like, look at what happened tonight with all the glitches. But we were commissioned by God to have this work. And one way or another,
Yes.
it's going to come out and people are going to hear it, read it, and see it. And that's what's
Oh,
important.
God's work gonna
Your
get done.
God's
It
work
will.
will be done. The devil is a liar. And I just think this is so marvelous because you're honest. All the interviews we do
Thank you.
are going to be so different, but the honesty, the community activism, the passion, You don't get into HIV whether you're diagnosed or infected. You don't. I wasn't infected because we had an abstinent relationship and sexual that way. Basically in 81, I knew that I had to take charge of my health because I'd gotten other STDs. So we just chose a sexual abstinent relationship, but we became even more intimate because the friendship was there. But the choice is, I knew that God wanted me to love him. I knew God wanted me to stay in the HIV lane, even though I'm negative and I'll be negative. I just knew it. And that's what you did. You knew that you were called to speak about HIV, to be a spokesperson for the youth or people. You were born with it. You didn't even have a choice. You could have not told anybody. You could have walked away. You didn't walk away, did you?
No, I still haven't. Even though I do it in a part-time sense, I just have to know that I have learned that I have other interests and other communities to help. The work only gets bigger for me, but the work will always be with community.
Oh, listen!
I hear the sound.
He changes the music all the time. He likes to keep us off our guard. But I just think, I'm just amazed that. Well, I'm so comfortable speaking. I mean, I'm natural born I love this. When this show became, when this was offered to me, because I'd been on Richardo's podcast, and I told him I wanted to do a show called, Positively Positive, together in the fight to end HIV/AIDS. That's what it's about. I wanted to do stories. Just tell people stories and let them tell me what they're about. And they're all so different. And that's what's so great about this is because of you being who you are, your boldness, you've made a difference in people's lives that you don't even know. You're never going to meet in life the people whose lives you changed. You probably changed millions of kids' lives by being so young.
Yeah. Well, I hope so, and I'm glad that I heard the call and decided to answer too. So, shout out to me.
We are definitely going to meet. We are definitely going to meet.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I pray that the resources, and we air the show on Monday nights from 7 to 8 at Campbell Health Solutions, even though we tape different times. We have Wednesday, Friday, and Saturdays, but we air, and I'll always do a little promo the Sunday before you're going to air on my Facebook page to let people know who's on and all that. So that's why I like to take
I'll have to friend you on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, please do. And check my website out with the books. I think you'll find them very interesting. And you can just read what they're about and my story and everything. And if writers don't get into writing for the money, we have a story to tell. Certain writers will make a lot of money when they're prolific and they get picked up by a publisher. But someone like me, who am I? I have a great story to tell, and one day it'll be picked up. So someone's going to come along one day, and I'm going to say, where were you? It's about time you got your head out of your ass and you saw a drama that needed to be told.
But don't say that. That might get you nuts.
No, I really am serious. How long does it take for someone to see a love story that could change the world with HIV? That's the stories we need to tell. Love. That's what you project. Love.
All right.
Love. And we've got to know how to get in touch with you. And we made it through. And I'm going to meet you one day. And I just think you are a marvelous advocate for people, for African American youth and people in general. Wonderful. It's an honor to have interviewed you.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for interviewing me and your energy and your fabulousness all around. Thank you so much.
It's wonderful.
All right.